Hi everyone, this is Devleena welcoming you all to another iconic episode of Icons Behind Brand. And the interesting series is none other than Iconic Ads with Devleena and Saurabh. I have my expert co-host with me, Mr. Saurabh Bajaj. Welcome here
Hi, good
once,
to be here.
same year. And we have our guest for today, Ms. Priya Lobo, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Ormex Compass.
Hi,
Hi,
Priya.
and hi, Saurabh. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome to IBB, Priya. Before we talk, let me play the ad.
There's a song in my soul. It's taking me to the floor, and I adore the way it makes me feel.
Does your bedsheet have superpowers? Presenting Easy Stain Release Bedsheets by Spaces. Bedsheets with superpowers.
So, Welspun Spaces was not known, and I remember Manjari Upadhyay. She was earlier working with Mondelez. She was given the mantle to grow the Spaces brand, and Manjari and I had worked earlier with Mondelez. And so the thing was, what is the value proposition that we have to come up for Welspun Spaces? One thing we got to know, because they've done a lot of research, all the secondary data, that those who buy the Spaces bedsheet love the bedsheet. But nobody else knows about this. They're aware of it. They think it is expensive. So the task was, what is the value proposition for that? One thing that I'd learned from that they have got good technology. They have patented technology, but they had no idea what the consumer was going through with their bed sheets and towels. So this study was to understand लोग bedsheet कैसे use करते हैं, क्या करते हैं, all of that. And these were in their house. So we were actually going to people's homes, interviewing them. Correct? Now, if I ask you, Devleena and Saurabh, bedsheet will say, oh, it should be colorful, it should be this and that. It's a known thing. You don't need Ormax and Priya Lobo to tell you all of that. Correct? So that's where, you start wondering, oh my God, what have I got myself into? So what we realize is the Indian consumer does a whole lot of activity on the bed. Pause back. It's only in our homes we say, nah, don't eat on the bed, don't eat here, don't do this, don't do that. Only few people. And I realize that is my thing. I find that most homes, people are drawing, project work हो रहा है, तंदूरी चिकन भी खा रहे हैं वहाँ पे, बच्चों के साथ खेल भी रहे हैं. So the bed sheet is going through this whole lot during the day.
Now the work from home is also work
Correct.
from
True.
तो the bedsheet is actually वो बेचारा है उस पे इतना सारे जुल्म हो रहे हैं. You're eating tandoori chicken, dropping that, then you're doing something, and the woman said, "Oh my God, it's a nightmare. इसको धोना तो बहुत nightmare है." And what happened is she was very conscious if there were stains on the bedsheet. She was also conscious if that was a favorite bedsheet. So I remember this one particular coach. He said, मेरे घर पे पार्टी थी और मैंने फेवरेट बेडशीट डाली थी, मेरे बच्चे की फेवरेट बेडशीट, and then somebody dropped cake on it.
Oh,
And she said, like, there's nothing. And then what you have to do, you have to wash that. Just imagine that thing, no, where she takes the bedsheet. All women could connect with that. They said, dude, finally somebody has understood my pain point. Even at a mystery shopping, this lady she had bought a Portico bedsheet, and then she kept looking, and I said, you can do whatever you want. She asked that store lady, this was actually the Welspun outlet at Lower Parel, ये क्या है? She said, ma'am, आपको याद है ना चाय के दाग कितने जिद्दी होते हैं? I want this. I want this right now. And right through the journey where I was dropping her back home, she was rationalizing and justifying कि mother-in-law को क्या बोलूं, husband को क्या बोलूं. And she said उसको बोलूंगी कि New Year party में यही डालो क्योंकि आप तंदूरी चिकन खाते हैं. ये सब गिरता रहता है. And you knew it worked. You knew that this
Brilliant.
proposition would just work. And I think Ogilvy did a very damn good job of capturing this. Hats off to them. Even when we tested, I said, इसको आग बंद करके बना दो, ऐसे ही बना दो. And women said, don't do anything. This is so, so good. Because it also had the humor, right? We were cracking up. So I think a very good way to show something. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Super like. Because so I know Manjari, she was in Mondelez with me. And Welspun is a very interesting, category, brand, and so on and so forth. But you're right, when it comes to something like a bedsheet, it just feels so mundane. It's literally under your nose, right? So you don't know whether something insightful will come up. I mean, a bedsheet is a bedsheet is a bedsheet. Why would I
So
spend
I
a
had the
premium for it?
smoking. What's going to happen? But if you look at the Ormax Compass website, she's given a testimonial. She said where you thought there could be no opportunity. I think that's
True,
the
nice.
fun, right? That's the fun of finding something which is related to a real need and a customer pain point. Yeah.
You know, the funniest moment was this particular ad was going with the flow, and you feel it's like sophisticated, it's like so classy, fine, and all of a sudden, this channel got changed, and the same thing happens in our mind. The moment we see a stain, the channel inside our brain, it gets changed, and the music gets changed, and it's all, it's a different game altogether.
Let me share something. Saurabh, you'll appreciate this because you've been with Britannia and Mondelez and Devleena. You watch it. Sometimes when we do our groups or when we are talking to our consumers, we are so preoccupied, right? हमारे दिमाग में भी कुछ tape चलते रहता है. I have
Yeah.
seen in the home, and I've seen when I was testing another ad for Welspun, they have a mass brand also. That lady said, जब आप सोफे पे बैठते हैं या कुछ गिरता है, even when we serve, if something falls, we quickly brush it off.
10
And we
second
don't,
test.
and we don't pick it up, right? But these things they connect with, right? कि हम ये करते रहते हैं, हाँ ये सही है, इन्होंने सही बताया, उनको समझ में आती है कि मेरा दर्द क्या है, right? And it is devoid of SSC. It is not a B1, B2 or SSCA. Even Devleena will think, oh my God, that bed sheet, just taking it out and washing it, right? So that is why it was called a Dhobi Pachao ad or something like that. So I said, guys, I'm telling you, it's going to be such a success. Yeah, it's going to be such a success.
And that moment, when something is about to fall, like that chai falling, you like cringe every second of that, those microseconds when that thing is in the air, right? When
Yeah.
you drop something from your plate, you're like, oh, it's like the world is coming to an end. It's just going to collapse right now.
How can we stop it?
Correct, mid-air.
But you see, Spaces has that ambience, right? You picked it up that they had to show somebody sophisticated. But it
Yeah.
also had to show the homemaker who goes through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's why it connected so well. The whole Didi Dag, right? At the end of it, all of it.
Correct. In our evening gown, landing up in the bathroom, doing Dhobi Bastan.
That's why I suddenly thought of it and I said, this was so memorable. If you say iconic, the word iconic is like that. It's evergreen, right? You can
True.
watch it and you can still connect with it. Yeah.
It must have been a good screen test for the actors as well, right? You have to do an evening gown show and you have to do Dhobi Bastan.
Yeah.
That is a fun one.
Nice. And the actress has acted well as well. The whole that when she's doing the cleaning, right?
Watch it. Yeah.
Correct. So it's quite nicely pulled together.
The expressions.
But I think the magic of this piece is clearly that whole thing of finding that consumer opportunity. I think that is really the goldest part of it, because there's a lot of brand tonality, like they wanted to do it in a classy manner and so on and so forth. But also the fact that for a bed sheet, how do you find that right compelling opportunity? Yeah, and I think the whole trigger of does your bedsheet have superpowers is again
Hmm.
quite nice. It has got a little bit of an edge to it, which sort of which is you.
I give full credit to Manjari for that bit because we used to discuss it, right? What is it? What is it? What is it? And she one day called me and she said, Priya, what if I say this? What if I say your bedsheet has superpowers? And it does, right? Stain technology is a big thought. And
Hmm.
I think she was also at that time they say, oh, other people can also say it. I said, but you say it, na? Let's forget the
Correct.
D record. D record नहीं बोल रहा है ना जिसको नहीं बोलो. I always believe this one thing I've learned even from Darshan. We have to say what we want to say. They are not saying
Absolutely.
it. And I think
Say
that
it
works.
first.
That works. Say it first.
Nice.
They can figure it out later. They might be having it, but we want to do this. And I think that is important because when we went back with the value proposition, we said that we have to become a thoughtful brand. So everything that we come out with, our brand is a thoughtful brand. Yeah. Even with the towel later on, that was the same thing. What do I come out with?
Yes, I agreed with your point on say it first, say it loudest, and you can probably own on to it, right? Anything which you have in terms of business results, outcome, consumer metrics, how did it perform?
I think that was that. So fortunately, unfortunately, I come in when I think when the business is just trying to build it, correct? And I've realized that when you're building it, you don't see numbers immediately. But today, if you
Right.
look at Welspun Spaces or Welspun the brand itself, okay, I think it's doing decent numbers. It's got its own unique, experience centers. I also remember that they put in a lot of effort even at malls, right? Where do people encounter the first time the brand and how do they see it? And I remember that one visit at the mall, somebody said, "मुझे अच्छी quality की bedsheet दिखाना." So I said, "Manjari, अच्छी quality की bedsheet ना." The guy should say, "हाँ मैम मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ spaces." So once I showed something, when a person goes and asks for it, I think a lot of energy went over there to make sure that all of that was available. Innovative products were available. They also made sure that at the retail level, the retailer would also make that effort to show spaces. Like if you went to Amarsan and you asked him, he'll show you everything else. Then when you ask him spaces, हाँ वो भी है. So a lot of
Hmm.
effort also went to make sure in the next 2-3 years that the channels started also making sure that spaces would be the brand that they would recommend. And I think sizable amount of work because Bombay dyeing was the big daddy, right? Everybody wants a Bombay dyeing bedsheet, but the younger guys were open to spaces, and I think they're doing decently well. And I haven't checked recently what the numbers are. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Now the second thing is, in these kind of ads, there's always a temptation to say that, do I want to do a very feature-heavy advertising, or do I want to do a consumer out advertising? Like in this particular case, you have a particular feature of of Wellspun spaces. The fact is a good quality bed sheet. Yeah. Now you have gone the route here of saying that what it is ease of cleaning. Yeah, and it got a superpower to handle stains when so much is done. Alternatively, you could have done a very scientific ad of saying that what we made with ABC polymer, and this polymer has got this scientific technology behind it, which is extremely boring, but sometimes very tempting because what we have it, so why don't we speak about it? So was
That,
that a discussion which
no, no,
happened?
no, not at all. I think the grounding is what is the consumer pain point? Who's my consumer? What is her need? And can I bring that out and dramatize that, right? The pain point itself. And I think that's where the success of that ad is and success of being able to take that thoughtfulness ahead. One thing they were committed because they've got patented technology, sort of,
Right.
both bedsheets and towels. So if we can go the dry route and saying that, it becomes like a manufacturer speak, na? मेरे पास ये भी है, वो भी है, and I put, this is the what thread count, this is the thing. I mean, nobody worries about that. People, when you do king size bedsheet and queen size, people say it should fit my bed. So we went to that kind of understanding that what are your pain points and which is your biggest pain point that I need to really, really take care of, right? So the temptation is even in the pain point list and the cribs and frustrations, which is the one that I need to pick first, which is the one which is going to give me the largest bang for my money, right? And this connected so well with the women. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think I'm mostly done with this one. Anything
Can
you
I
guys
share a
feel?
funny one? Can I share a funny one? Because that time we were also doing the
Yeah,
towels. Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And classically, stereotypically, we think that the woman only buys all the towels. Huh? After
True.
doing a few, I remember calling up Manjali. Oh my God, we just didn't ask the guys, and the guys were very, very clear about the towels, the sizes, and that was one thing that they wanted to weigh in, especially the younger guys. And I'm saying those moment of truths are very important to capture and not go on this high horse and say, मुझे सब पता है, सालों से हम ये करते आ रहे हैं, I've got my playbook. And I think that sort of is something that we have to watch out, right? Because being in the business, we should not get jaded and say we know everything. And how do we pick up these gems when they happen in front of us? Yeah. Yeah.
True, true. No, I had experience like that once when I was on Cadbury Celebrations Rakhi. Forever we had targeted the brother telling him it's an insular gift. And I stood outside the retail outlets on the 3 days of Rakhi and I realized that only girls were buying it. And the insight was the fact that girls were using Cadbury Celebrations as the meetha in the place of the mithai, rather than the boys using it as a gift in place of cash. And for 10 years we had only been talking about telling the brother is insular, don't give cash, give celebrations. So sometimes when you actually let go of your biases, immerse with consumers, some very surprising reality comes out.
Correct. And that's why we have to empty ourselves. I think as we go seniorer, we should actually be walking the street. Reverse.
True. I agree.
Total reverse journey has to happen because in our mind there is so much of processing that is happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that the consumer being in touch with the consumer is critical, very
Being
critical.
curious.
Yeah, being
Totally.
curious, being totally curious all the time.
Great.
Wonderful conversation. Sort of now, I want to know what are the key takeaways and learnings from this particular episode?
Great. Welspun Spaces is not a very differentiated product. It's so difficult in a category like bed sheets to be able to create a mark, because you can see so many ads of clothing brands and, everyone looks like the other. A decor ad might look like any other, right? And they're being able to find a compelling benefit, I think, is what the insights team did really well and what, led by Priya Lobo. So hence, I would say deeply understanding the consumer, trying to figure out what is my compelling, proposition, what is my compelling offer to the consumer, and you not being able to be too worried about the fact that is it very differentiated, because if you find a compelling reason, they speak it loudest, it'll probably be attributed back to you, right? So that is probably the first thing for me. Second is, again, in kind of premium categories, you have to build a certain premium codes, which is what they did very beautifully, right, with the actors in front. And then they did this twist, which is extremely funny. And you showed her, doing the whole gisai and, bringing it alive for people. I think that was quite funny, but really interesting. Third is, how do you make this memorable? How do you get it attributed back to the product? And where they use this hook of saying that, this is a bedsheet with a superpower. You'll remember that. You may not know what the superpower is. You may not even have to spell it out in terms of fabrics or etc. etc. You have to be very consumer about it. The superpower is that you don't have to do that design. That sheet will take care of itself. And hence, for me, I think the top 3 takeouts from this conversation was really about, in commodity-ish like categories or easily differentiated categories, being able to find a clear consumer benefit is really important, and then invest and talk about it. Second, hold on to your category codes, but probably use humor to bring in that twist and memorability. And finally, about the fact that you have to make it believable without necessarily being scientific about it. Speak the language of the consumer. You speak in the language the consumer is able to relate to things, and you'll probably succeed. So I think for me, these are the top 3 takeouts from this conversation.
Superb, Saurav. And I think my favorite was, you have to be relatable and you have to be believable without being very scientific. You don't have to talk about technology so much. You can really convey your message without doing that also. That is the beauty of simplicity. And
Absolutely.
right. So thank you for sharing those takeaways and key learnings with us, Saurav. Thank you for being here.